Rockets so motivated to get a deal done for Westbrook?
James Harden wanted Russell Westbrook as a teammate again. They were ready to move off of Chris Paul. And, Oklahoma City moved quickly to try to get a deal done to create an auction situation between the Miami Heat and the Houston Rockets. The market was limited for Russell Westbrook. It's limited for Chris Paul because of their age, the contracts they have, and how they fit in around the league now. So they knew exactly what Houston had to offer, what Miami had to offer. And Oklahoma City moved quickly yesterday to tell those two teams, we're doing a deal. Houston's offer, coupled with the fact that Oklahoma City wanted to work with Westbrook, help him get to his preferred destination. That was the Rockets. But 2 first-round picks, 2 more pick swaps. Oklahoma City has gathered up 8 first-round picks since draft night.
Yeah, and that was nice of them, I guess. Is it nice of them to help Russell Westbrook get to where he wanted to be? You talk about the bevy of draft pick stockpile for them in the future, and that's OKC. Now, what happens with Chris Paul? He has 3 years and $124 million left on his contract. Will we see him in OKC at all?
Not if they can help it. They've already started working to try to find a destination for him. Miami looms in that conversation. They wanted to get Westbrook, didn't get a deal there. They don't have salary cap space. They don't have many picks going forward, ways to improve themselves at Miami. They're going to have to take, a contract like Chris Paul's on, the way they were willing to do Westbrook's. They brought in Jimmy Butler in the sign-and-trade. But from the moment that trade was agreed to yesterday, Chris Paul's agent, Sam Presti, already having the conversation to try to figure out where they're going to move him on to. There could be some other teams in that conversation, but I think the focus right now is trying to find a way to do a deal with Miami if there's one there. If not, he could potentially start the season in Oklahoma City. It's really not a scenario anybody wants.
All right. Okay, so Chris Paul, 7th all-time in assists, but still seeking that ring. Who knows what happens and where he'll land. You mentioned Miami, perhaps. Thank you so much for giving us all the information.
Thanks, Carrie.
Always an education.
All right, guys, let's take a closer look at this dynamic duo, Westbrook and Harden. Again, back together. After playing 3 seasons together in OKC, they were combined 170 and 93 with both guys in the lineup for the 405. But here's the thing. They only started 7 games together. Remember, Harden primarily came off the bench. They also become the 3rd pair of teammates to play on the same team after previously winning scoring titles. Last year, Harden and Westbrook were 1-2 combined in points created, combining for 102.4 points per game, which is a crazy number. That's close to what some teams are averaging total. So what's Vegas saying? That's a big question. Well, they like Houston's chances a lot more now. The Rockets' odds of winning an NBA championship improved from 10-1 before the trade to 15-2 after the trade. The Western Conference, it is stacked. 5 of the 7 title contenders are from the West, with Carrie's Lakers being the favorites. And then there's head coach Mike D'Antoni at NBA Summer League, picking up his phone, not saying that's when he found out about the Westbrook trade, or was it? Either way, he probably stopped paying attention to his team, and the Viz proves that. Maybe he's making dinner rezzos, maybe he's sending a tweet with a lot of happy emojis. Either way, his players know about it too.
Know that the Rockets picked up Russell Westbrook just now during the game?
That's what we were talking about at halftime. So, it's going to be great, man. I'm excited to get to, learn a little bit from Westbrook. Obviously he's a Hall of Fame caliber player, so, it's going to be a great opportunity for me.
All right, Tim McMahon joins us. He covers the Rockets for ESPN. Let's just get this out of the way right away, because everyone wants to know this. How much of the relationship between James Harden and Chris Paul factor into the deal?
Did that friction factor into James Harden's desire to team up with Russell Westbrook instead of Chris Paul? Perhaps, but that was not the reason this trade was made. As a Rocket source told me, that did not drive them to do anything that they otherwise would not have done. They did not feel like they had to trade Chris Paul, and they were not going to trade Chris Paul unless they felt like they got equal or better basketball value in return. There was not a situation that was available until Russell Westbrook was put on the trade block, and obviously once that happened, the Rockets pounced.
So we know Houston, they want to win right now. They've been very clear about that. But how is this also a long-term play, too?
Well, you look at the ages. Russell Westbrook's 3.5 years younger than Chris Paul. And look, we watched last season. We saw these signs of physical decline with Chris Paul. Realistically, that window was down to a year, maybe 2 years. They feel like with Russell Westbrook, it extends the window that they can be legitimate contenders. They feel like they now have a chance to contend for championships throughout James Harden's prime. And so that certainly was a big factor in feeling like Russell Westbrook was an upgrade, not just this season, but again, it is about the next 4 years that he's under contract.
Well, we heard Woj just say it a few moments ago that Harden wanted to play with Westbrook. These guys have played together with the Thunder. Everyone knows about that. But that situation was very different. Harden, a completely different player now. Both guys very ball dominant. What kind of concerns does that present for you?
Well, look, it's not necessarily a perfect basketball fit, but it is a partnership that Russell Westbrook and James Harden are very excited about, and that gives the Rockets confidence that it can work. And, they feel like Russell Westbrook will drastically improve them in terms of being a transition team, in terms of a team that gets out and running. And they also feel like he will thrive in their system simply because for the first time in a long time, he will be able to operate with spacing, with shooters around him. And in terms of him not being a shooter and how does that impact, James Harden as an ISO player, one guy told me, well, it's not like James needs space to get off that step back.
Well, the narrative in Houston changing quite a bit just over a couple weeks. You're going to be a busy man. Get some rest before the season starts. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
We got plenty more coming up on the trade. Stephen A. Smith telling us why Westbrook is an upgrade for Houston. Plus, what's Russ's legacy in OKC? And we'll have more on how James Harden's game has to change with Brody in the mix.
All right, I'm going to tell you what we don't know. Well, we know Novak Djokovic is moving on to the final. I'm giving you guys the lead right away, but let's tell you how he got there. Taking on Roberto Batista Agut. Second set, Batista looking for things tied at all. He's trying to do what he can do. He hits a forehand over the top. Okay, good for you. He gets it done. Novak's okay with him getting it done. We go to the third set. Djokovic leads 3-2. Bautista returns one high. Here we go. And then Nokovic, this is easy for him. Overhead slam. He'd take the third set. Fired up. He's ready to go, talking to his box. Fourth set, all Djokovic for the match point here. He's tired. And that would be Bautista. He can't handle the serve, returns it to net. Djokovic wins 6-2, 4-6, 6-3, 6-2. He will face Federer or Nadal. That's actually happening now. Nadal just told us about that. Regardless of how the second semifinal shakes out, Novak Djokovic will be facing a familiar foe. Djokovic holds the edge over Federer overall and in majors, while Nadal has the edge over Djokovic in majors, but not overall. The 54 meetings between Djokovic and Nadal are the most tour-level meetings between two men in the Open era. The 47 between Djokovic and Federer are the second most. In short order, we're saying it's going to be a battle. Nabil.
Oh, it's going to be real good. Still to come on SportsCenter. Adding Russell Westbrook is an upgrade in Houston, right? We'll talk about what he adds to that roster. Plus, could Melvin Gordon, could he be the next Le'Veon Bell? You have to hear what he's planning if the Chargers don't give him a new deal.